everyone. Welcome to the Friday Night Pro Line. As we gear up for the weekend, Jim Place is here. I'm Dave Koken. Let's start at the top with announcements about what we've got going this weekend. Jim, I've got 5 bowl games up right now. I probably will be adding a couple in the next 24 hours, so the bowl list is starting to grow. Those games are going to be available at the website, including my one big bowl play. I'm going to call that the bowl game of the year. That's available now. Also, have a college basketball game tonight that I just put up, and I think I'm going to add another one that is looking a little more attractive to me as I break it down. And might have an NBA game later. Don't think I'll have much in the NHL. How about yourself? What have you got on the website right now?
Well, I have 2 college basketball games up for tonight. I'm adding bowl games every day, so as I get through them and get information and do my own second and third looks at them, I'm adding that. Of course, in NFL, I'm going to have sides and totals on several games. We'll talk about it a little later, but there are several big matchups this weekend that we should talk about. And of course, we got NBA, and it's a big weekend. It's a money-making weekend. I'm looking forward to it, and I know you are. You've been doing really well, so I mentioned that yesterday in the podcast that I did, that you have that big bowl game of the year coming up, so people should not sit on that because you don't want these lines to move. Get in there, buy those games fast before everybody else gets them and moves the line.
Last night, heck of a football game, and an important win for the Atlanta Falcons. They had to have this victory, and they got it. In a close game against the Saints, Deion Jones saved the day with a tremendous interception in the end zone, a leaping catch of a pass, and I think that probably saved it. Well, we don't know what would have happened, but certainly that was a huge play in the game. This division is now completely wide open heading to the final 2 weeks.
Yeah, you can break them down. Of course, we're going to have to really evaluate the injuries that the Saints got in that game. Kamara went out early. That definitely changes their game plan a lot because he's the key player on that team, other than Drew Brees. But it's not often that you see a quarterback throw 3 interceptions and still come out winning. That's a very unusual stat. Minnesota.
A couple of them were really bad.
Oh, terrible. I don't know what his decision-making process this year has not been good. Minnesota plays at Carolina. Now, we all know Minnesota is really locked in. They got really good situation going in their division. But Carolina, at home, they're an underdog. Don't see that too often. We all know that they have their issues. That Newton hasn't been that sharp, but Minnesota's been extremely sharp. But when you talked about that division, the NFC South, you've got the Saints, the Panthers, and the Falcons. That is a dogfight. I don't know how to break that down, Dave, until I see what comes out of these games as far as injuries are concerned, because we're coming down to the wire.
Yeah, we sure are. It's getting to be really late, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. There's no question about that. So let's talk about one of the games this weekend. And we'll key on the one game here and try and break it down. Seahawks are on the road against the Jaguars. Both teams in the mix to get playoff spots. And one thing that stands out to me, looking at this game, is the Jaguars are about as adept as it gets at sacking the quarterback. Seattle is going to have to find a way to keep Russell Wilson on his feet, which Russell Wilson usually does really well. If Wilson can avoid those sacks, Seattle's going to have a pretty good chance this football game because the Jaguars, that's their specialty. They rush the passer, they rush them often, and try and create havoc. So Wilson loves that havoc. Okay, this is the guy who thrives when things are breaking down in the offensive backfield. He'll get sacked once in a while, certainly. Everybody does, but I think this is going to be a key to this football game.
It is the key. I mean, there's no question in my mind that there's a massive advantage to Seattle in this game at quarterback position. I don't think anybody's going to say that Bortles is going to outplay Wilson, and normally that would not happen. But Seattle has a terrible running game and a terrible offensive line, but they play with passion and they know how to win. And this is tough. I mean, they played a very tough game against Philadelphia last week, and now have to travel across country to play in Jacksonville. That's a tough situation for them. In this game, you got Jacksonville. They opened 3.5-point favorite. They're down to 2.5 points favorite in the game, and you keyed on it. Jacksonville is great at rushing the passer and sacking the quarterback. Russell Wilson has tremendous ability in scrambling, moves around a lot like Fran Tarkenton did many years ago. He's much more physical. He can take more hits. Different era, of course, but he's very accurate on passing on the run, on the move, and he gains a lot of yards with his feet. He's a one-man gang. He's accounting for 85% of the Seattle offense. Nobody in the history of football has ever done that. It's amazing how valuable he is.
He's been incredible. And one thing I always consider, and I am not necessarily going to be a play for me, but it's certainly something that I factored into the equation. Pete Carroll's teams always get better in December. Okay, I mean, it's just Seattle is notoriously slow starting. They pick up steam as the season goes along, and they're doing it again. I mean, this team 4 or 5 weeks ago looked like a team that would be on the outside looking in as far as the playoffs are concerned. Right now, they're right in the mix. The other side of it is this is a huge game for Jacksonville, and they're not used to being in this situation. Now, they had an easy win last week against the Colts, but the Colts can't play, and they've already beat the daylights out of them once, and I thought they would again. That was my best play last week, and it got there. I don't feel nearly as comfortable with Jacksonville here, despite the fact that on the numbers, it's not a bad play on the numbers. If you look at Jacksonville, it's certainly a game you would think they've got a decent chance to win, especially playing at home. But I don't know if this team is up to winning a really big game at home.
They're not the kind of team that you feel comfortable about unless they're an underdog and they're getting a lot of points. Even though they are, in the running to win their division. I think it really is the lack of quality quarterback play that they have. Bortles can come up and play a decent game every now and then. He has some ability. It just doesn't always show up. This is a very tough game for Seattle. They played a physical game with Philadelphia. Have to get on a plane, travel across the country to play this team. And offensive line versus defensive line clearly favors Jacksonville in this game. Clearly. Quarterback favors Seattle. Both teams have decent defenses, although the Seattle defense, the Legion of Boom, is kind of gone. There's only one guy left out of the top three. So, I mean, Seattle is playing very short-handed and in a bad spot. And that's tough.
It really is. You know what? You saw the way they stepped up last week against Philadelphia. And obviously it was a long trip to Philadelphia. Difficult spot for the Eagles. Maybe they didn't have their sharpest game. That's still a really good football team they beat. And they're going to come out of that game feeling, they're still a veteran team. I think they're going to come out of the game feeling as though they're on the right track to make the playoffs again. I would lean to the Seattle side here. I think it's extremely close. You're not going to get much in terms of point spread value. I mean, the line's under a field goal, so you better pick the winner in the game. But a 2.5, maybe a 3 out there. Hopefully, you can find that. I think it's more likely it might drop, but that's speculation. I think I lean to the Seahawks here. Since there are more proven entities in games like this to me, their coaching staff has been proven, particularly Pete Carroll. While he does some silly things, every now and then, being a bit of a riverboat gambler, he still knows how to win big football games. That's something the Seahawks have done on a regular basis. Tim, I think they're going to do it here. It's not what I call strong opinion, but I'm definitely looking at the Seattle side.
I can understand that. There is one element I didn't bet the game so far. I think that if I could get a 3, I would then consider it. But one of the things that bothers me about this is Seattle has to play the Rams next week. And
so that's a monster game.
That's a monster game, and that is critical for their ability to get into the playoffs. This game matters, of course. It's not that it doesn't, but that, looking ahead, if possible, to that Ram game, coming off the physical game they had against Philadelphia, playing against the absolute worst type of defensive line they could ever run into. This is a tough spot for me. I'm not going to bet the game. I may bet the total. I still have some work to do on that, but I have not made a bet on the game.
Now, and I'm in the same boat. As of now, I've got looks like 3 plays I'm almost definite on in the NFL. And I haven't posted any of them yet, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to be on 3 games. This isn't one of them. But from an opinion standpoint, I'm going to take the Seahawks in the game. Let's get a 3 play out there for tonight. And this is on the Celtics matchup against the Spurs. It's the marquee matchup in the NBA tonight. No question about that. Throw a few numbers out here because they're pretty strong. It doesn't mean they're going to win again, but even if the Celtics have been underdogs 6 times this season, they've covered the spread in each one of those games. They're 23-7 against the spread off a win. They're 36-17 against the spread on the road. The road team in this series has covered on a regular basis 15-5-1 against the spread. The Celtics play the Spurs. Although it didn't work earlier this week, the Celtics won at home against San Antonio. The Celtics, when they're on the road in the series, 7-3. Those are a lot of trend numbers. And I realize trends are, they're backfit. The idea is to get in front of these numbers, but they're still numbers that you got to look at. And the one that does stand out to me, Jim, they love that rule of underdogs. 6-0 this season when getting points. It's a real good basketball team. I think they've got a good chance to complete the series sweep tonight against San Antonio. Spurs obviously still without Leonard. He is due back soon, and they really need him. They've got another one of their guys out tonight as well. Celtics could be a little bit short-handed tonight. Jaylen Brown might have to sit this one out. We'll have to wait and see on that. But I'm looking at the Celtics as the right side of this game.
I can see your point, Dave. What do you give San Antonio as a home court advantage? What number would you put on that?
For San Antonio, I make it about 4.
Okay, so
it's higher than average.
The odds makers made San Antonio 1 when they opened this up. It went up to 2. It's sitting steady at 2 right now. So what that basically means, if the game was on a neutral court, Boston would be a 3-point favorite. So they're saying Boston. They're saying Boston is. I'm sorry.
I said I would say that's about right at this point because and that might change later on when Leonard comes back. But Leonard's worth a lot in San Antonio, and without him, Celtics are simply higher power rated team in San Antonio right now.
Right. Yeah. So you got the better team, and the only reason they're an underdog is because they're on the road at San Antonio. Yeah. Granted. The NBA season's a long season with a lot of travel issues, and sometimes the home court advantages really should be restated and says it's the traveling team's disadvantage. So in many cases that's the case, but you have the better of the 2 teams with the current rosters available in the Boston Celtics going for you tonight, Dave. What do you have for the weekend? Because you know, it's a big weekend for both of us and all of the handicappers on the site. Again, you've got horses from Hank, and you got football and basketball, and we've all been doing really well. And I'd like to see everybody get on board. Go to jimfeist.com. Check out what we have there. Take a look at the Fast Facts, which will help you with your own personal handicapping. And check out Dave's picks, my picks, Hank's horses and sports. And also check out VegasSportsMasters.com because all of our picks are there too.
And we'll come back and recap the weekend and start a brand new one on Monday. That's it for now on Proline. Thanks for listening and have a great night.